behind a Chuck here. And if you guys didn't know, I got to clean my house. So what we're going to do for the new show is I'm going to be putting on right now, here and now, an hour's worth of episode, the Jim Burnett Experience episode 308 AEW Full Gear Review. Let's kick it.
Hear this. It's an explosive episode of Pro Wrestling Spotlight, available at pwspod.com, or available wherever you find your favorite podcast. And, of course, a 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership! Oh. I didn't know if I was going to do it, but
I didn't think you'd do it. I wasn't ready for it.
I'm going to be feeling it for the next hour, but I did it. Episode 100, I swear it's getting very close to landing.
I swear I know it will. I know it will. I swear it will. It's going to land anytime the mothership.
I have been editing with a fever for the last couple of days. Expect.
You've been feverishly editing.
Both. Yeah. But yes, editing with a fever, recording now with a fever. But the show is almost done. And I have to say, it may be the single greatest episode of any wrestling podcast that's ever been produced. Check out more information today. Go through the archive, 605pod.com. It's available wherever it is that you find your favorite podcast. And also want to make mention for everyone who has bought T-shirts, stickers, or magnets in the last several weeks, all orders will be caught up by this weekend, by this Saturday. All orders will go out. So if you're waiting on something.
So wait a minute. Now I'm caught up and you're behind.
I am behind. The sickness. I've got the sickness. That's what Roddy Piper used to call everything. And he used to, the sickness. But no, since I've been sick, I've kind of been a little extra behind with that. This Saturday, as of this Saturday, we'll be completely caught up. Unless a ton of orders come in the next day or so, but I'm hoping that won't happen.
In the morning and fever all through the night, you give me fever.
Have you ever done karaoke?
No.
Would you ever do karaoke?
I don't know why I would do something like that.
If you were going to do it, what would you sing, or what genre of music would you sing?
What genre of it would have to be the spoken word genre, so that I wouldn't say no. Actually, I did a group karaoke thing with the Ring of Honor guys in Chicago one night because I can't remember who it was, but they were butchering the words.
Was it the Young Bucks?
No, it wasn't. It was not the Young Bucks, but they were. It was Matchbox 20 is what they were doing, and they were butchering.
Whose decision was that?
I don't know. I came in on it in the middle.
Jeez, spoken word. You gonna do some Lou Reed?
Hey, you never know.
By the end, Lou Reed
Walk on the Wild Side. He just stopped singing it all.
Yeah, like all his early hits that were amazing, Sweet Jade, all the veterans stuff. You would hear him do it live. It's like not only would he just not sing it, he would just say it, but he would also do it at points where you're not supposed to say it in the song. He just fucked up all of his songs. He didn't give a shit.
Well, there, if I've ever heard one, is a fucking segue.
That's
a segue. He fucked up his show because he didn't give a shit. Well, let's talk about Full Gear. I want to preface this by saying, and we'll be done with this. I want to preface this by saying that it's stupid to think that I would have been rooting against a billionaire starting a wrestling company with the connections to get it on TNT, whether it was to be paid $1 billion for it or not, just to get on TNT, just to get the wrestling back on the Turner networks, national television, real fucking budgets to do things, budget to pay wrestlers. Why would I dislike that from the start? I disliked it soon after the start because I realized, as I've mentioned before, with who he was going to be in business with, that this was not going to be a serious effort, nor was it going to be any way to, it wasn't going to be a template for what could be done because they were going to botch it up because they couldn't play it fucking straight and they couldn't recognize talent because they thought they had the talent in their group. That's what I thought. And the prophecy is quickly coming true. And yes, I enjoy knocking a few of these people like Jazz Hands and Jelly and all the rest of them because they're fucking idiots and they're embarrassing. But I don't enjoy knocking the whole concept of a wrestling promotion to challenge Vince McMahon, which makes it all the more grumpy for me when they are botching their efforts and botching their attempt. And what other national television network is going to give wrestling a chance after this when this swirls down the porcelain throne? it's going to be that much harder to get a good product on the air, and then Vince will have even more of a monopoly. So I didn't want to be right about this whole thing. It just so happens I am again. But for people who think I wanted to be right from the start, no. I would rather there be a big budget major league pro wrestling promotion alternative to Vince McMahon. It's just that apparently the people with the money don't know how, and the people that know how don't have the money. And some people along the way are insidious manipulators and connivers that separate some people from their money without imparting the know-how. I sat down to watch the pay-per-view straight through the way that God and nature would intend it, right?
Did you watch it live?
I watched it. I didn't watch it live because it was a busy day on Saturday, so I watched it all the way through on Sunday before I could have people poison my mind on it. But I did. We'll get to it. I watched it almost all the way through. And this, once again, it was a long fucking thing. God damn, it was so long. But I have my contemporaneous notes, and I'm going to go off on some tangents. The opening package of they've got a great voiceover guy. He could actually say the Young Bucks are the best tag team in the world, and you don't hear any hint of wink, wink, or chuckle in his voice. So, and he has the great sports voiceover voice. They're spending money. They're getting professional people, except to put in the ring.
Did you see the pre-show? Because they had all those video packages that I thought were phenomenal. All I thought when I watched that was, why aren't they putting some of this on the show? This did a better job of making me care about the matches I normally wouldn't care about than anything they've had on Dynamite.
No, I watched what they sold to me as a pay-per-view. I tuned in when the fireworks went off, and they said, welcome to the show. So, I don't know what to tell you.
The pre-show, they had video packages, Jim, that were like equivalent of HBO boxing when they had that 24/7 show or stuff the UFC has done. Really good shit that almost made you...
Why wasn't any of this stuff on the pay-per-view instead of these 30-minute long fucking matches?
Why wasn't any of it on TV to build up to the pay-per-view? That was the thing I couldn't get over, because it did a better job of building up the pay-per-view than anything that's been on Dynamite. Anything. Other than the Cody and Jericho segments.
Well, there you go. We should have done our research. The Baltimore Arena, now the Royal Farms Arena, but the old Civic Center, I've been there many times. There was a lot more people in it when I was there. The first thing I wrote, why is Justin Roberts so goddamn cheerful? It's just he's so happy to be there.
I put on Twitter, why don't they hire Bruce Buffer? They've got a billionaire's budget. Hire the best guy.
There you go. And not Michael Buffer like the last time wrestling was on Turner Networks. The black sheep of the Buffer family. Hire Bruce, the good one that gives a shit, does a good job.
I'm sure he's a nice guy. Justin Roberts is just not good as a ring announcer.
Well, it just, once again, so much cheerfulness. So much cheerfulness. Anyway, the Young Bucks versus Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz with the Rock and Roll Express at ringside. And nobody expects me to like this fucking match, and I didn't expect to like it. There were times that they broke down and actually had a tag match where they'd get some heat on one guy, but they're also the same type of tag match that they always do in a lot of it, which was they just do whatever the fuck they want. I like that they disallowed a tag to the boot early in the match. That was probably for me. But, of course, then the fans booed the referee not allowing an illegal tag. And for the heels. Because it was the heels that did the illegal tag. And the referee said, no, you got to. And the fans booed the referee enforcing the rules to the heel team. They have so little logic or psychology in this promotion. I'm not talking about the individual matches. I'm talking about the promotion. That not only can you not tell who the babyface and who the heels are, but the people cheer both and boo when the heels are taken to task for their cheating. The whole thing doesn't make any sense. After the referee got booed for not allowing the heels to cheat, then the heels got a cool double hold on both the baby faces, and the people cheered it. Here's what I see when I see these two guys wrestling, or two teams wrestling. I see two mid-card tag teams. I don't see the Revival. I don't see Mark and Jay Briscoe. I don't see Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. I see two middle-card tag teams at this point, and Proud and Powerful have some potential. The Young Bucks look like shit when they're fighting or punching. It's ridiculous. They have their video game match, and if it was on in the middle of the card, then it might be okay. But to actively try to tell people that the people who are not already in this fucking bubble, that this is the greatest tag team in the world when they're looking at what they're looking at on television is ridiculous. And if these are the best two teams in the company, they're in serious fucking trouble. Anyway, then Matt Jackson, Northern Lights suplexed both heels at the same time. They were all four endlessly with no tags. The Young Bucks did a bunch of contrived shit, working around Nick's bad knee that he allegedly had that he was selling. Then at one point it all fell apart and stalled. Then they went into the finish, and Matt charged Santana in the corner so that Santana could move and Matt could go through the buckle and hit the post, but Santana didn't move and Matt went past him and hit the post. Nobody noticed that one, I bet. The camera cut away quickly. And then Proud and Powerful hit their finish 1, 2, 3. The heels won without cheating. And it went for 20 fucking minutes. This match went 20 minutes. Then they continued the heat. Here comes Sammy Guevara with his fucking camera phone that I thought was, cool on TV. But now what the fuck? It's slow. It's plodding. Then the Rock and Roll gets up. And Ricky Morton gets the two biggest pops of the fucking night for doing the fucking assisted Canadian Destroyer and then the dive out onto the heels. And did you hear a pop that big for anything else in that match?
Oh, no, it was clearly the biggest pop.
And just because, yes, they're popping because everybody knows Ricky Morton's 63 years old, at least. And here he is doing these things. And they don't understand, but the lesson to be taken away from that is when your expectations are lower and you overperform, people blow their minds. But when they expect everything to look like a car wreck to begin with, and that's what it does, and they sit there and go, yeah. Build something. They basically had a 20-minute fucking match to build up for Ricky Morton doing two spots, and he stole the show. And good for him and bless him. But there's the two greatest tag teams in wrestling right there, apparently, because they said the Young Bucks were, and then Proud and Powerful. A lot of PPs. Piss poor pre-planning leads to piss poor performance. Anyway, they beat them. So these are the two best teams in the wrestling business. And people are sitting there and watching television going, what the fuck? Actually, no, there weren't. Because they charged $50 for this fucking thing. $50 for this pay-per-view when you can pay $9.95 a month and get everything that's ever been put on tape and all the biggest stars in the business and the biggest super shows. And they charge $50 for this, which we'll get into shortly. What do you think of that match?
Well, let me start by saying, because I watched that pre-show and those packages, and there was a Britt Baker match on the pre-show too, but I won't talk about that because you didn't see it. I went into this pretty optimistic. I said, let me enjoy this. And I have to admit, I enjoyed it more than most Young Bucks matches. I thought it was good.
They did less. They did do less.
It went too long for me, but, I like the little things like which one's the fucking one who's in his hair? Matt?
Well, Matt's the pie-faced one with the darker hair.
So Nick, yeah. I thought, I was like, oh, wow, they're selling a fucking injury. They're selling the knee. And then, of course, he starts doing super kicks with the same leg.
Well, yeah, because that was only in the middle part of the match when he wanted you to know that he was selling the knee. And then he instantly quit selling the knee when they have to do other shit.
Yeah, so, that I wasn't crazy about, but I thought, by and large, it was a really good match. I enjoyed it more than I have their other matches. They started the show with it, but let me ask you a question. If everyone knows the Young Bucks are executive vice presidents. Everyone knows that it was the success of the Young Bucks on the independent scene, which was kind of the genesis for all this. Do you think they should be losing as much as they've been losing? Personal feelings about them aside, the fact that they are there and it's AEW, should they be losing as much as they're losing?
Well, I don't know what they're trying to. I don't know who they're trying to get over here, because I can see that. Okay, if they're going in thinking that the Young Bucks and Kenny Olivier are already so over that they can just do jobs to everybody else and get them over, then I can see why they're doing what they're doing. They're just crazy that they think the Young Bucks and Kenny Olivier are that fucking over. But otherwise, I don't understand it, because they're trying to not win to prove that they're not going to push themselves. But then, since they're supposed to be the big stars of the thing, big stars are losing. I don't fucking get it. I don't get it. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know who the heels are. I don't know who the baby faces are. I don't know who the stars are supposed to be. Because everybody goes competitively with everybody for 20 fucking minutes. But no, this I'm not shitting all over the match as the worst Young Bucks match ever. I'm just saying it's the same thing they usually do, and I don't fucking get it or understand it. And also visually, I said for anybody watching television going, these two kids are the fucking greatest tag team in the world. The only people that paid $50 for this are probably you and me, and everybody else is convinced they are the best tag team in the world. They're that fucking gone. That's the only people that paid $50 for this.
I just saw a thing with them the other day, one of their little skits. And if you think wrestling is offensive, you should see their comedy. It's even more offensive.
I've tried to watch a couple, and I can't do that to myself.
That blonde one, he kind of has that like Kardashian whine, like next time you hear him talk, just like it's just this like whine, this Southern California pampered whine. But anyway, the next match I was looking forward to, Pac versus Page. I like both these guys. I think they're great athletes. Within seconds of the match starting, they were on the floor and using the barricades. In the first match, at least two guys got tossed over the barricade into the fucking crowd. Now they're constant railing shots, boom, 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 knocking them into the people. And both guys did decent shit, and they looked good. But now the fans are kind of sitting there because these people came to see video game, quote-unquote, wrestling. And these guys are trying to have a match after they've jump-started and gone 100 miles an hour at the beginning, rattling each other around the rails and everything. And then they try to get in the ring. I don't know. They did shit to each other. And then Page hit his finish. And again, he did the moonsault off the top. Again, in every single match, moonsault off the top to the floor, lands on his feet. People cheer it. Every match I've seen him in, he has done that. Every match I've seen him in, he's hit multiple of the buckshot lariats, whether it's the finish or not. I'm starting to, why is nobody producing young Adam Page? If he don't know how to get over, why can't they book him to get over? Why can't they produce him to get over? And why is somebody else not telling him all these things? These are questions I have with no answers. You've been on the fence about the cowboy. I have.
The hangman doing cowboy shit. This didn't knock you off the fence, did it?
No, it's not that I've seen Page versus Pac 100 times, but it feels like I have. Every match goes so long. On the positive side, focus on a positive, I think Pac is a fantastic professional wrestler. His facials,
yes,
movements, he can wrestle and do high spots. I really like him. I see the talent and the potential in Adam Page. I just don't, like you said, maybe it's as simple as he's not being produced yet. He's too young to have full control over everything he's doing, but it's supposed to be the wrestlers have autonomy there or whatever the fuck.
Well, but that may be the problem. That's maybe why he's doing his best move in every match, whether he wins or loses or comes out even or whatever, or just that is not a move. It's not like a goddamn vertical suplex. You shouldn't be able to hit that in every match. You shouldn't be able to hit it every time you want to perfectly. It should be a high risk. There's absolutely no risk. He never misses. Because he does it in every match. I've seen it. I agree with you about Pac. He's fucking great. He looks like a badass. There's just something going on here. Next match, Shawn Spears and Jelly Nutella. And they're really trying with this Shawn Spears entrance. And then he goes out there and he has just fucking mush face. There's no, Tully has better facials. Well, obviously he would, but
fucking walk all the way
I
back
mean,
to
you know,
goddamn
this is on
laundry.
pay-per-view. Sean Spears versus Jelly Nutella is on pay-per-view, which shows you how thin the roster is. There's no reason that this rotten-looking fucking outlaw kid should be on pay-per-view. He tried a bunch of shit that he didn't know how to do, and it looked rotten. They claim
it. This goddamn apartment complex.
13 years as a pro. So even though he looks like he's fucking 19 and a shaggy-haired fucking booth from the Jersey Shore, he is really in his early 30s. He still lives in Omaha.
There were no washers available.
Changing that when the AEW
put him in my goddamn complex, you fucking
we know this
HSL, you piece of fucking filth.
13 years as a professional athlete. If I'm a fucking viewer at home and the announcer, even Jim Ross, who I believe, who has credibility with me, tells me that this little fucking clown has been a professional athlete for 13 years, then that's just an unnecessary reason to bury your announcers. Because fuck, look at him. And he makes goofy faces too. I think he's trying to idolize fucking Olivier. This went for fucking ever. Can you, I dare anybody out there listening to the sound of my voice, can you imagine Jelly Nutella ever having a match on a WWE owned or operated television program? Can you?
No. This is a tennis ball.
So anyway, and then Sean Spears can't even beat him by himself. Tully has to spike pile drive him on the floor, and then they pick him up and throw him in, and then Sean Spears hits his finish. Flat, blah. Come on. And you know why you think you've seen Pac and fucking Page all those times? Because we see these same people every show they do because they have nobody else. This is it, folks. They had better than a fucking year and a billionaire backer to go around and come up with a fucking roster. And this is what they have given us because these are the personal friends of the people that are bilking the billionaire.
Easily the worst match on the show. Spears never had a chance because he's working with that dumpy pant load. It just can't work. I mean, you watch him, he's sloppy in the ring. Doesn't seem like he has any idea how to work. Just garbage. I mean, this was
physically awesome. Looks like shit. Yeah. And everybody, once again, all these fucking cosplay wrestling fans are like, well, Cornette, you know, he wants all these steroid guys. Oh, yeah, I've always been pushing the big steroid freaks all my life. No, just people that look like a fucking athlete, look like a trained professional. And you, sir, Mr. Nutella, if that is indeed your real name, are not one. I'm going to let you review the next match, which was Private Party versus the Lucha Brothers versus SCU. And the reason why is because I fast-forwarded the fucking thing.
Well, unfortunately, I went down to have dinner during that match. Before I even saw Private Party, I just said, you know, I've seen enough. And I said this will be my bathroom break / dinner break for the night. So I did not watch that match.
Well, I would have watched a tag match with either of these three teams, but I wasn't going to watch another fucking three-way for no reason. And I knew what they were going to do. The Private Party's going to do every move known to man. The Lucha Brothers are going to do whatever the fuck they come up with on the sperm of the moment in the middle of the ring, because it didn't look like any of that stuff's even been worked out ahead of time. And SCU is going to try to keep it together for the American audience. And they're still going to do a bunch of shit, and there's going to be no tag team rules and etc. And SCU did indeed beat Private Party after foiling their finish. And then they did an angle there where Chris Daniels came out under a mask as another Lucha Brother, but then fucking whatever the fuck. But here's again a three-way. They've had constant three-ways. It's the worst goddamn idea that I've ever had. Here's another thing's come back to bite me in the ass. I now hate the fucking three-ways where I don't even watch them. It's my fucking fault. I did it. Heyman stole it from me, and then JR stole it from me, and then everybody else. And now you can't have a goddamn show without a three-way for no reason. And I didn't even come up with it, although I did at the time. I didn't know there was a three-way in Texas. They found out in 1967 between the three top guys that were going after the fucking belt. I can't even remember who it was now. But the only way these things work is if you have two heels and one baby face. That's the only way it works. But the heels have to have heat amongst each other. It can't just be two heels that are going to work together, because then it's bullshit for the babyface. It's obviously not fair from the start. If you have two baby faces and one heel, then that's even stupider. Because then your heel is outnumbered and your baby faces have to fight each other. The only way it works is if you have a strong baby face, a strong heel, and another heel that's been your strong heel, but is maybe in the process of switching baby face and has heat with goddamn the other heel. That's why we did it with the Dirty White Boy, Tracy Smothers, and Brian Lee. Christmas of '93, Christmas Chaos. Of course, Happy Heyman stole it, and they did the three-way dance. I had triple threat matches, because that sounds dangerous. They had a three-way dance. Sounded like a goddamn quilting bee. Little pussy-ish fucking get-together. Three-way dance. Oh, we're going to dance. And they did that in what? Was it Valentine's Day of '94 with Funk and Shane Douglas and Sabu?
February '94, yeah.
Okay, and then short of the next year, JR called me because he started doing my TV right after Christmas Chaos that in '94, and he had seen, because we only did the one triple threat, because you couldn't have them more than every few years, or it was stupid, because that situation only comes up every so often. So he called me one day from Stanford. He said, that three-way match thing you had, the triple threat match, what were the rules? And I explained it to him, why we did it and how we did it. That's when they started doing them for the WWF title, with Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker versus fucking Mankind or whatever the fuck, right? The three-way
big sexy
title matches. But once again, it also doesn't work unless it's an elimination match. Because then the three-way, these three guys are in a dead heat. One is champion, the other two are top contenders. We need to determine who the man is around here. All three of them are going to go in a match, every man for himself. The last unbeaten man declares his dominance and is the champion. It's the only way it works. They didn't want top guys doing a job in the WWF, so they changed it to first pinfall, which didn't make any goddamn sense, because then you could pin a guy and win a title without beating the champion, which then they realized and made a whole fucking issue out of that, but that never made sense either. And the match is not over when one guy gets beat. That's just fucking stupid. The whole idea of it is to have a battle of attrition where the toughest man survives. So after it's been done and redone, and then the rules prostituted, and then all of a sudden it becomes a mid-card thing, and then all of a sudden, well, let's put 5 of the fucking little lightweight guys in there, and they can just fly around and have a goofy match. Doesn't make any sense, and every man for himself, and there's no baby face and heels. And it's the same thing as everything else in wrestling. It's been done, overdone, redone, rules changed, prostituted, homogenized, pasteurized, and sanitized, until now they have multiple man matches on every card, and it looks fucking stupid, and it is stupid, and nobody gets over. Just my opinion. What the fuck? But you took a dinner break at a poor time, Brian, because you know why.
I don't.
Because of what the next match was. That was your dinner break, or should have been.
What was the next one? I don't even remember.
Emi Sakura versus Riho.
And boy, she's going all the way with this Freddie Mercury thing. I thought it was a one-time thing. Now I realize it's every time.
And do you see the people looking at this fucking fat, dumpy, middle-aged, Margaret Cho-looking fucking outlaw indie girl wrestler from Japan coming to the ring dressed like Freddie Mercury with a gimmick mic stand and a mustache? And the announcer's like, well, because she's such a fan of Freddie Mercury.
Ugh.
What the fuck?
Fuck Queen.
So here she comes, and then
let's
comes
do a pale.
Rio. And I wanted to save talking about this.
Was Queen banned from every
I've been
country
waiting
on
to
the
talk
planet?
about
No.
this all
Was a
fucking.
pale?
Here's
Yes,
another
remember.
example of financial fiduciary irresponsibility. Kenny Olivier,
Asshole.
who is apparently in charge of this goddamn rat fuck fiasco women's division, fucking actually tweeted out the statistics to get the match over and make it more important. That Emi Sakura and Riho have faced each other in singles matches 30-something times. One won 17 and one won 15, but they've faced each other in some type of match or another 268 times over the past 13 years. Because then they go back into, well, yes, because she was a pro when she was 9. And once again,
Trent Acid was nobody else, so she can get the fuck out of here with that.
Tony Schiavone was MIA doing the Bulldogs, Georgia Bulldogs, or whatever. So JR had to be saying this and backing this shit up, which is ridiculous on so many levels. Number one, to say that this girl was a professional wrestler when she was 9 years old. Now we find out there is a promotion in Japan that apparently Emi Sakura is the trainer for, that regularly uses girls that are 10 or 11 or 12 years old, and not against each other, but just in with the regular adult women. And this is a thing in Japan. They do a lot of strange shit over there.
Telling me.
And so Kenny Olivier is tweeting out this girl's record of 13 years as a pro, starting when she was 9.
Chinese people have been shitting in fucking Bangkok.
What would it have been like? I know Ronda Rousey started competing in judo at an early age as an amateur against other girls of her age. What would it have been like when she stepped in the fucking octagon in the UFC for the first time if they had included her entire record, including judo matches when she was 11, as part of her MMA record? What would people have said?
They would have said it was ridiculous.
Because it's ridiculous. You fucking stupid fucking idiot. This guy has got me at this point. This guy's got me where I can't even come up with colorful insults. My mind is blown. That this fucking dancing, prancing, jazz hands having, finger pointing, goddamn goofy face making fucking idiot not only goes out and shits the bed every time he gets in the ring, but also he is pushing this shit in this company. They are competing with a billionaire named Vince McMahon that gives people Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. And they are on pay-per-view giving them independent outlaw girl wrestling from Japan for 20 fucking minutes. And nobody gave a shit. It's no wonder that Olivier's into these girls, because they're goofy too. And guess what happened about halfway into this fucking match that I later found out went 20 minutes, plus intros, plus a package. Oh. I went to fucking sleep. As did, I'm sure, a lot of other people. And because I went to sleep, I woke up. Cody and Jericho was in the middle of the fucking match, because this is what they put on before their fucking world title match. So I had to rewind to go back to the start of Cody and Jericho, and I watched the first 5 or 10 minutes of that groggy, because these goddamn Japanese play wrestling fucking girls had put me to sleep. So Olivier is fucking his fucking program up, and he's not even when he's not in the ring. They couldn't feature Britt Baker. They couldn't feature Awesome Kong. They couldn't feature Nyla Rose. They're going to put a girls match on, and they put on for 20-something minutes on pay-per-view Emi Sakura, Mercury, and Riho.
I got to stop you for a second. So you didn't see, now that I'm realizing it, the pre-show with Awesome Kong?
No, I saw. Here's the thing.
I got to tell you about this.
What?
So it's Britt Baker versus Bea Priestley. Is that her name?
Okay.
You know, I've expressed my issues with the AEW women's division enough. I'm not going to harp on it again, but they have their match, and Britt Baker wins. And then Brandy Rhodes and Awesome Kong come out and go in the ring. And Awesome Kong takes out a blade, a knife. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck is this? And I guess her gimmick now is they go to this down Bea Priestley and they cut off a piece of her hair. But you don't know she's going to do that before. It was pretty goofy, I got to say. And one other thing, you're talking about commentators, you missed this. On the pre-show, they had Taz and Golden Boy, who you may remember from several pay-per-views back.
Yes, and I remember old Golden Boy.
I thought they were great. They brought energy, they brought excitement, and then they were gone for the main show.
Well, yeah, remember we said Golden Boy was good, and obviously Taz knows what he's doing. And then there's Excalibur. All right, anyway, so this the point is, Their competition is giving people Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, and they've got indie outlaw Japanese girls 25 minutes on pay-per-view you paid $50 for. So, yeah, somebody needs their fucking ass kicked. And then came Cody versus Jericho, and I rewound it and watched it from the beginning. I'm not going to go move for move. Everything anybody could have imagined I was going to say. Why don't they just charge us $50 to watch this match? Actually, I would have paid more than what I paid if I could have just watched this match and not had to watch the rest of the fucking show.
But you didn't have to watch the rest of the show. You didn't, and no one forces you to watch any of this.
Well, good, because apparently that's the only way they're going to be able to have viewership in the next several months is if they're forcing people, if they keep doing shit like this. One classic match. And I mean, everything fell in the right direction. Also, fortunate juice, because at first I was like, well, this is too convenient. Cody's going into business for himself. Then I saw that fucking hole in his head. I said, okay, I was fortunate juice. But it added to the fucking match. I figured they probably wouldn't be doing blood this early. Then later on in the next match, we'll get to that. But these two guys know how to work. They know what to do. They had the people. They had a great match. They had a great finish. And then they did a great angle afterwards. And guess what? MJF had fucking heat. With what we actually called last week, because it's the only thing that made sense, and it's just the first thing off the top of my head, but because it made sense, and it was a Cody match, they did it, because he only does things that make sense. and MJF is brilliant.
What the fuck?
And he got heat, the guy throws the beer on him, and then throws the fucking can. You see security going over to grab the guy. Imagine that the smartest group of wrestling fans on the fucking planet probably gathered in that one spot, and MJF got heat just because he's real. There's nothing I can say about this. I can go through and say, well, everybody on the roster ought to have watched this match, but it wouldn't do them any good anyway, because if they could figure out what to do, they wouldn't be able to do it. That's why Cody and Jericho are the only two doing it.
You know, I was wondering, it seemed to me like it took the fans a few minutes to get into the match. Do you think the judges at ringside threw people off because they were expecting a long match?
Well, it may have, but also as well, it took it took me a few minutes to wake up. What crowd-killing fucking performance just happened in the arena in front of those people where the only thing they could do was get up and go get a hot dog or piss to get away from it? 25 minutes of fucking outlaw Japanese women's wrestling. After they've seen all those moves on the undercard, then they've had to sit through that women's match. Now it's going to take them a couple minutes to warm them back up. And by the time, and once again, in a half an hour that flew by the time it was over with, the dead crowd that just saw the fucking fat, pudgy female Freddie Mercury was so mad they were dousing MJF with fucking beer and throwing shit at him. Imagine if they hadn't had to get him back, or MJF might have been assassinated. If they'd have been up from something that they saw earlier in the night that was any good, it'd have been easier.
Cody obviously busted open his eye, and I think he even broke a rib on that dive onto the ramp. What do you think about the ramp? Because that was something that was there in WCW when you were still there. What do you think in general about using a ramp like that?
Hated it. I always hated the ramp. When WCW started doing it, they started doing it to look big and grand on pay-per-view like the WWF. And I know the people in Maple Leaf Gardens from 50 years of history love their ramp. And that was necessary to get the guys to the ring and back. Because you see the newspaper clippings back in the 40s, at a hot finish, the guys used to have to hide under the ring in the riot. So they put the ramp up where they could elevate them. But if you're doing chase scenes outside, you can't go all the way around the ring. It was awkward for me as a manager because you can't get around the fucking ring. I don't like it. It attracts attention. It takes away. It's a big, giant thing. I don't like the ramp and never have. But in this case, the ramp was the least of their worries, except that it almost fucking caved Cody's face in.
You know, we talked about the weight belts a few weeks back. Both guys in this match were wearing the weight belts. Is that a back issue thing? Do they have back issues?
What not used to be, that was in a bunkhouse match, and you take the big thick leather weight belt off and whip somebody with it. And then Dusty loved to use the weight belt in the bunkhouse matches. And I think Cody started doing that as a little homage to Dusty. And now maybe they're just doing it and they don't really know. Well, Cody knows, but some people are probably using weight belts and don't know where it started or why. Because you just asked. I don't fucking know.
Any problems? I mean, obviously the MJF turn has happened. Some people could say it happened too soon. I've seen that in various places. Some people thought it wasn't explained enough on TV in the weeks building up to it. Do you have any issues at all with the way the MJF turn transpired?
No, if that means that we'll get to hear him talk more and not have to act like a babyface when everybody... Here's the thing. He's such a great heel. Everybody knew eventually something was going to happen. And the people who were complaining, well, he did it too soon, knew it was going to happen. They just wanted to wait longer. But there's no sense in presenting MJF on national television in anything other than the best light and his best performance, and that is as a heel who's just fucked a top babyface and don't give a shit. So, as quick as they got him there, I'm happy with it.
Now, you didn't see the promo. Did you watch Wednesday night? Did you see the promo with him?
I have not. Well, that's another thing. We're going to talk about the Wednesday night shows on the drive-thru because I've had 4 14-hour days in a row without watching that much wrestling because I do have personal and professional business. So I haven't seen anything yet, but I did record it. So we're going to talk about that on the drive-thru.
Okay.
But anyway, let me get this done and get the bad taste out of my mouth. What they've done here is they put all the best guys that they've got, guys and girls that they've got, on this pay-per-view, which is the same ones they put on TV every week because this is the fucking sum total of what they've got. And they can't put the jokes on pay-per-view. And they can't, maybe, Jimmy Havoc was getting a blood transfusion or something. Who knows where the fuck he was at.
He may have still been sleeping the night before.
He may still be unconscious from Excalibur stretching him. We don't know about that. But anyway, every one of these matches was so long. The only one that was an acceptable match to pay for, there was a couple matches okay for free television, but the only acceptable match to pay for was Jericho and Cody. That was fantastic. I see a pattern emerging here. And they're already 3 hours into this fucking thing, and we still got Moxley and Olivier to go. And I'm like, okay, lights out match. They're going to have a big brawl. This will be quick at least, right? Oh, no. I hate to use the term self-indulgent.
Well, this is the self-indulgent era of professional wrestling.
But 44 minutes with entrances for this self-indulgent, phony, silly, stupid, embarrassing, big-budget, garbage fucking wrestling. And I'm going to be happy to point by point pick this fucking abortion apart, step by step. The only thing that they did right was they actually did turn the lights out. They dimmed the lights and then brought them back up. Obviously, because Eddie Graham invented the lights out match, it's a non-sanctioned event. This is not part of the normal course of proceedings, ladies and gentlemen. The promotion is not responsible. The State Athletic Commission is not responsible. We dimmed the ring lights as to signify that the regular event is over. And what happens now as we bring them back up is purely on the contestants. That was the idea. That's where the lights out match came from. And Eddie Graham is spinning in his grave to such an extent that he has probably powered the western half of California with a turbine like that. This fucking abortion from the start. John Moxley comes off as real and legitimate. He does a good promo and you can tell he can work. And he's not huge. He doesn't have great size. He doesn't look as badass as Terry Funk. People have compared him as that. No, it doesn't look like he'd kill you like Funk would, but he comes off as fairly real. And Olivier, regardless of whatever the situation is, comes across like a twit. Like a fucking simpering twit that's just phony and stagey. And they jump into this thing, and I think, okay, it's going quick. Olivier's in a fight, but he's throwing the forearms because his punches are shitty. Within seconds, they're throwing the garbage in the ring. Then they're out into the fucking crowd. Then they go to the rear of the arena. Of course, they carefully blocked this out earlier in the day.
Damn.
And they've got security people trying to keep the people back. But once again, as I mentioned, anything can happen just because you walk through something in an empty building earlier in the day doesn't mean something else is going to happen. Plus, half the people in this major arena can't see this shit. The cameras can barely get a good shot of it. It's stupid outlaw shit where it's like an Ian Rotten show where they fight around the whole fucking building incessantly, but the whole building is a fucking 400-seat rec center, if that. But in this case, it's goddamn major NBA arena. And it was just stupid. And it was ECW with a budget is what it was. And then they're out in the crowd. And here, number one, they're both big stars, supposedly, in this environment. You would think Moxley would be the heel, but there's really no heel, and they're cheering both guys. And they're out in the crowd, and the people are patting him on the back, or patting both of them on the back. Nobody has any heat. The people are not even convinced they're watching a real fight as they're struggling and fighting with each other. The people are so scared of these two badasses, think Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen, that they're reaching up and patting them on the back and get some of the swole look, real sweat. Nobody's fucking scared, intimidated, whatever. Then, and that's the thing I was going to say about Moxley. He looks like he has talent, can do these things, but if this is the kind of fucking shit he wants to do now that he's been unleashed, I wish he'd go back to prison. Because it'd be better for the goddamn wrestling business if he went back and was stopped from doing what he wants to do, if this is the kind of shit he wants to do. They bring out a barbed wire baseball bat, a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, and then do phony shots with it. It's real barbed wire, but they're hitting the... Explain this to me. It's real barbed wire, but you've got a bat in your hand. Instead of just smiting the guy in the head once and winning the fight, you're raking it across his forehead. You're raking it across his back. You're giving phony-looking gut shots and phony-looking back shots where the barbed wire's real, but you're not hitting him with the bat.
I swear to Satan.
And it's obvious. So they cut Olivier's back up.
One more time,
I'm going to walk outside. The shots that Moxley was using were obviously phony because it's a bat.
Motherfucker down with my hands.
Whether Bullet Bob Armstrong or me a time or two or any of the other fucking baby faces that have brought the Tennessee toothpick, Bill Watts, whatever. You get a fucking a top heel that has some heat. You apologize beforehand. You know how to swing it. He knows how to take it. You give him one gut shot and he fucking scampers off or is carried out. And it's the big comeback of hitting a few of them at a time. Bang, bang, bang. You do it in the middle of a match, it's fucking stupid. And they did work spots with the bat over and over. It reminded me of when action figures started coming out in the Attitude Era. And the people with the toy companies. Well, here's a doll of Scotty 2 Hottie. So they put a toilet seat or a fucking plunger or goddamn a shopping cart in with it. And all the wrestlers' figures had blunt instruments or fucking inanimate objects in them that had no relation to anything because some guy at the toy company watched an episode of Monday Night Raw where there's some shit stain written bullshit where they were fighting with shopping carts and toilet plungers in the bathroom. And assume, okay, this is wrestling. So then the other fucking idiot, not Moxley, the first idiot, but the second idiot, Olivier, not only pulls out a table, which they ended up using later, but a broom wrapped in barbed wire. Because you know he's the cleaner. And he used to have a broom in Japan, so of course everybody knows this. and they did goofy spots with a broom wrapped in barbed wire while they're really hurting each other and taking these bumps, and they are cut up so far. They're doing obviously fake and funny stuff at the same time where Omega's sweeping him with the broom across his bare back. But the people are going, ooh. Well, here's an idea. If you don't want a guy with a barbed wire wrapped broom sweeping you on the back, roll over and get the fuck up because it's obvious you can. You dumb fuck. It was stupid. The whole thing was stupid. And the people are cringing because it's real barbed wire. But they're ignoring the fact that they're having a fake fight where they're really hurting each other. There are so many reasons why that this doesn't make sense on so many levels. It's like that goddamn intergalactic chess game that they used to play on Star Trek, where there were multiple levels. Nothing makes sense of this, no matter how you justify any of it. They're having a fake fight and really hurting each other. The people know that it's fake, even though it's supposed to look real, but they're making it look fake.
You're wrestling 40 checkers.
Now Moxley's back of his head was bleeding from one of these stupid stunts they did. And here's another thing later on. They will get, Moxley will get a goddamn screwdriver or an ice pick and gouge Kenny Omega's forehead, but he never bled from the forehead. And Moxley got hit over the head with a fucking broom wrapped in barbed wire, but never bled from the forehead. But they're bleeding from the back, and Moxley's bleeding from the back of his head, and we didn't even see which shot did that. Even in a bloodbath, I wrote, Olivier still looks silly and phony. They got another trash can. They spent way too much time looking under the ring for shit because they go for the fuck to the wrong side because they lost track of what they'd hid. Then they have to go look on the other side. Then here comes a giant board covered in mouse traps. They bring that in the ring.
Okay.
Jim Ross has to act. Well, it's a new one on me, fans. I've never seen this before. I know as an announcer the sinking feeling you get in your stomach when you're sitting out there and you're having to call stupid shit that's going to bury you. And I hear the tone in the voice. I felt sorry for him. I've been in that position. So then they took a bump on the mouse traps. Then Moxley brings a long gold chain in, not even an old, rough, rusty logging chain, but a brand new gold chain. And he sidewalk slams Olivier on a pile of chain. They've got a giant logging chain. And instead of using it to hit the guy one time and knock him out, they put the chain on the ground and have the guy take bumps onto the chain. Then Moxley, that's where he couldn't find some more shit. Then he come out with the ice pick. But he stabbed the top turnbuckle and lost it for a little while. So they could take more bumps onto the chain. At this point, I wrote, folks, don't hate this because of the quote-unquote brutality. Hate this because it's silly and phony. Then Olivier hung Moxley over the top with the chain by his neck, but he didn't know how to do it. So Moxley had to do half of it for him, and then Olivier's still posing and making faces, dropping down to his knees and pointing upwards. He's in a goddamn bar fight with mouse traps, but he's still making poses and faces. Then Olivier couldn't find his shit. Then he finds a sack. And he made a face and staggered kind of sideways like he was drunk, and he made a face like his fresh butt plug just fell out. And he brings in a bag of what is purported to be broken glass. And then he takes a big piece and he rips Moxley across the head. Of course, Moxley does not bleed or tries to rip him across the head, so then he rips him in between the fingers. Then he stomps the broken glass in the bag and then dumps the bag out. Brian, you know what sugar glass is, don't you?
Yeah.
Sugar glass is what they make for movie special effects. Instead of, I've actually found out about this in the WWF about 20 years ago, because I thought that when you broke a bottle over somebody's head, you just baked it, cracked it, took care of it, and then broke the real bottle over the guy's head, and what happened, happened. But no, they have fake bottles. But the problem with this sugar glass is because it's made out of sugar and etc. It can't get wet, so it can't hold any water. And also, when you stomp it, it doesn't break and crack like real glass. It just powderizes. Was it a tip-off to you, Brian, when he dumped the bag of glass out and half of it was white powder that he had just stomped a bag of sugar glass?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, actually.
Okay.
Because you didn't know at first when he pulled out the one shard. You're like, oh, what is,
Okay, well, yeah, we can buy that.
Yeah.
So he pours out the bag of sugar glass. So now they used real barbed wire a little while ago. Now they've gone to fake glass. And you can tell it's fake glass because they didn't know how to take care of it and use it right. And because there's nobody there to produce them and tell them. Then Olivia, besides taking bumps in the glass, but then they're not immediately coming up ripped to shreds. And, they're already bleeding from the back from the shit they've done, but no, this was not real glass. Then he put some of the fake glass in Moxley's mouth. I bet that Greg probably had a dry mouth the rest of the night, and they try to super kick. It's just, I'm ashamed of wrestling right now, is what I wrote at this point. The glass goes in the mouth. I'm ashamed of wrestling right now. As good and believable and athletic and exciting as the Flair and Steamboat matches were, and you would show it to people who knocked wrestling and it made you proud to be a wrestling fan, and you would say, this is what we like, this was the exact opposite. It was phony. It was distasteful on multiple levels. It was disgusting. It was stupid. It was silly. This is the kind of stuff you hide from people who don't like wrestling because it makes people who like wrestling ashamed to like wrestling. Then Olivier stalked Moxley with an ice pick with the goofy horror movie face and stabbed him in the face, obviously phony. Then Olivier, they're back on the ramp now, halfway back to the back, and Olivier is screaming, bring it, to his cohorts, the Young Bucks, who just happen to be standing by. They don't want to bring it. Finally, okay. And they wheel out a framework with what is basically a barbed wire trampoline. What was that thing? 15 feet across each way, 15 feet square?
Something like that, like a web.
And a web of barbed wire and all the barbed wire shit and whatever the fuck. This is when I did pause it and leave the room for a minute because I was going to get mad. I was determined to see this thing out, but I had to walk around for a minute. This thing, there's no way they could have got this to the ring. First of all, there's no purpose that this is not a real thing. This is something that they made up, that they built to take a bump into. It's not a real thing. It serves no other purpose. So they built something to wheel to the ramp that in this fight they were going to be in, Olivier knew that they would somehow end up on the ramp because you couldn't get it to the ring. So it was only going to be useful if you could get your opponent halfway back to the locker room down the ramp in this place where this thing could be wheeled up next to it. And then it was only good if you took a bump off the ramp into the thing. And then they teased throwing each other off into the fucking thing. And then they took a bump into the thing. How did Olivier, as I said, know that he'd need it? How did he know they'd be in the right place? How did he figure this would help him win? It's all so fucking stupid. And then they did the reversals and finally a suplex and both of them went into the barbed wire. And I got news for you. I'm willing to be proven wrong. If somebody whose word I respect or opinion I take seriously or whatever was to tell me it was real barbed wire, then I'd say, okay, but this was phony as a football bat barbed wire. Because they landed in it and got hung up in it and they got back up and nobody was ripped significantly more than they were to begin with. So they either used fake barbed wire after the fake glass, or there's no other fucking explanation. Would they not have been severely damaged more than that by taking that bump into real barbed wire? 4-prong barbed wire that they use on farms that I've seen many a time since I was a child?
I thought the same thing. Like there was some blood early in the match, and then as the match kept going, there was less blood. I mean, they're using glass, then barbed wire web, somehow no blood.
And then the referees and all the fucking ring crew and everybody takes like 10 people forever to get these two stupid fucks out of this thing, and the whole thing died. They didn't have a lot of momentum to begin with because this was taken for fucking ever. Oh. And then they took a bump through one of the fucking set lights. And I wrote, why won't this end? And then there comes Olivier out of the fucking light with a goofy face. And they go back to the ring. And then Moxley cuts the canvas off, which takes forever. And takes off the pad and uncovers the wood. And they take bumps on the wood. And I look now, we are over 3.5 hours into this fucking show. And I didn't see the pre-show. I'm talking about the actual pay-per-view.
Oh.
Almost 40 minutes into this fucking hokey-ass, big-budget Ian Rotten Mud Show bullshit that they're putting on pay-per-view for $50 fucking dollars. Then Moxley kicks out of a DDT on the wood. Then Olivier begins his grand climb pose where he stops at the buckles and points up and looks.
All right, show's almost over. This bullshit fest is almost over. So, fuck me for trying to do my laundry. Fuck me, I threw a stack of papers at the wall because I got pissed. And fuck me, my body hurts. It's just Sunday. So this was watch Chuck Stew fucking eat or rest. I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't remember. So yeah, bye.